Hello, my name is Madeline, and today I will be making a lemon blueberry pound cake with a lemon glaze. First thing you have to do, always, is get your pan, and really you can grease it or you can put parchment paper on it, but you never want to put wax paper on it because when you bake it, the wax can melt and then it sticks to your cake and it makes the cake really nasty. And second thing you want to do is preheat the oven. So for this dish, you have to preheat it to 350 degrees, which I have already done. So this is most likely what your setup's going to look like before you start baking. You're going to have all your ingredients, your milk, your eggs, your vanilla, anything you need for what you're baking. You have your bowls to bake with, and I don't have them out on my table right now, but your beaters, your mixers, stuff like that. Your zester, because you have to eventually zest the lemon for this. Flour, and then you'll have your pan, which I have parchment paper on, that you'll eventually put your batter in and put it in the oven. So let's get started. So now that you have gotten your melted butter and your sugar and creamed it and added your eggs in, it should look really smooth and really liquidy. And next, you're going to want to zest a whole lemon. So I have a lemon, and of course you're going to want to take off the tag. I have a lemon and my zester. And I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about the lemon because it's actually really interesting. So lemons, they're grown in Mediterranean agriculture. That's mostly centered around the Mediterranean basin, but some of it is in California and central Chile. And this lemon is actually extremely susceptible to frost. So if it is not in the exact climate, they can go bad really easily. And that climate, it needs to be subtropical. And there's a lot of technology that goes into producing these. Some farmers will use fertilizers or pesticides to get rid of certain pests that feed on the lemon trees. And others use different irrigation and sprinkler systems because these lemons grow on trees. You're not going to want to go around watering trees every day. That's really all I have to say. Oh, one more fun fact. Lemons actually are picked before they mature because if they're picked after they're mature or when they're mature, the acidity doesn't last as long. So if they're picked before they're mature, the acidity lasts a lot longer and it can get shipped to the market where it's still acidic. And then it works really well and it tastes really good. Now that you've added your lemon zest and your lemon juice and your vanilla, you can now add your milk and your flour and baking powder mix. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about milk just because it's really common, but it's actually a really interesting product. So milk actually depends quite a lot on the climate. Cows are very, very sensitive to extreme temperatures and extreme humidity changes. And so if a cow doesn't produce milk or is stressed or unhappy, then it's not going to produce everything that the farmer wants the cows to produce. Also, milk is included in the first ring of the von Thunen model, which is a model that represents different types of agricultural practices in relation to how close they are to a city or a market. So this is in the first ring along with fruits and stuff like that because it spoils so easily. So if it wasn't in the first ring, say it was in the third ring, then it would spoil along with transportation and you wouldn't drink it. You couldn't eat it because it was spoiled. And last, it is included in dairy farming, which actually uses more technology than we think. It uses a lot of automated things, like automated milking systems and automated feeding systems to make labor forces less required. So it decreases the amount of labor that is required to milk a cow, because that's dangerous, you can get kicked, or to feed cow because it takes a long time. Now that you're done adding in all your ingredients, your batter should look a little bit like this. It's not going to be too runny, not too solid, just enough. And now you're going to want to fold in your blueberries. Now blueberries, they're kind of tricky. They are grown in cooler climates, so they're actually grown here, and other places like California. So the South, the West, and northern US is mostly where blueberries are found. Just because it can get a little cool here, it can get a little cool in the East, and it's the right type of soil. And it's mostly commercial farming, so you'll never really see blueberries in subsistence farming, just because blueberries, you don't eat blueberries a lot. I mean, you'll have them maybe for breakfast, but not something like corn where it's in everything. And technology-wise, it's mostly just irrigation and sprinkling systems. So now that you have your blueberries mixed in, I know they look like chocolate chips, but they're really blueberries, trust me. You are going to want to put your mixture into your pan. Like I said, it can be filled with parchment paper, or it can be grease. I think you can use olive oil as well, but the main thing is you don't want to use wax paper. I mean, trust me, from experience, it gets caught and it makes everything 5 times more difficult because the wax paper sticks to the bottom. And then you have to peel the wax paper off without damaging your dish. And most of the time you have to cut it off. So you have to sacrifice some of your dish, which is what I had to do for my my dish, which was I made pecan pie bars for Thanksgiving. And you want to make sure that you scrape all of this out, just because you don't really want to waste anything. And then after I scrape all of this out and make sure that parchment paper is covering everything, I normally like to tap my pan on the counter to get air bubbles out, just because it makes it flatter, and or you can shake it like this and make sure it gets around the pan and everything. And then once you've done that and it looks nice and tidy, you are ready to put it in the oven. And that's as simple as it gets, really. So now that we're waiting for the cake to bake, that rhymes, I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about some effects on the agriculture. So first, agriculture really does affect the environment. You really have to be careful how you use it. It causes climate change, mostly from machinery emitting certain gases. It causes deforestation from overgrazing or slash and burn techniques that were not used properly. It causes pollution from fertilizers and pesticides running into waters and hurting the ecosystems of lakes and rivers, and also the Green Revolution. So, to sum it up, the Green Revolution was after the third agricultural revolution. Some people put it with the third agricultural revolution, and others put it as the fourth one. But it really is just us evolving in agriculture and coming up with pesticides and GMOs and stuff like that. And so the Green Revolution has caused pollution and erosion from those pesticides running into rivers and harming soils. And even though it does have positive impacts like higher yields of food, and it can be argued that it caused better qualities of food, even though there is chemicals in the food, the Green Revolution did have a lot of negative impacts. And then the Green Revolution was caused by our economy evolving, and that economy has an extremely big role in our agriculture. So the economy depicts what machinery we use, so tractors, stuff like that, sprinkling systems. MDCs, most developed countries, have a better economy, and it allows them to use better machinery. And that machinery can produce higher yields, it can produce better quality of foods, unlike LDCs, least developed countries, which might not even have an economy, so they might not have machinery at all. They might, and that would cause them to have less evolved forms of agriculture. That's why most forms of agriculture in LDCs are subsistence instead of commercial, because they really don't have the tools to be commercial farmers. And then food manufacturing does have a huge role in agriculture. Actually, food manufacturing has been up 41% since 2009, and that is because our economy has spiked and it's going higher and higher and getting better and better, and these food processing factories and packaging factories, transportation systems are all contributing to how our agriculture helps us and how the economy helps agriculture. Without food manufacturing, we wouldn't eat. I mean, we probably would drink, because some people get bottled waters. I mean, the economy really does have a bigger impact on agriculture than we think. And some people think that agriculture has a bigger impact on the economy, whether really it's the opposite way around. So now all we have to do is wait for the cake to bake, and then I will come back and we will see how to make the glaze, and then I will show you the finished product. So now that our cake is almost ready, there's about 10 more minutes left on the timer. We need to make our glaze. So for a glaze, you need powdered sugar and lemon juice. So you can freshly squeeze lemon juice, or you can use the store-bought, and it doesn't really matter, but you're gonna wanna whisk it. And I have a hand beater over there that I'm gonna use. And then I'll show you what it looks like after we're done whisking it.